Hey everybody, how's it going? Stout Man coming at you looking mighty weird, I'm sure, with my headphones on and my hat on, whatever. It's baseball season, so I've got my hat on. I felt like wearing it. Mariners won today against the New York Yankees. Woo! Yankees suck! We're not here to talk about sports, are we? No. We are here to talk about Blu-rays, high definition, DVD, and whether or not DVD is good enough. This is a subject that was brought up by somebody that I subscribe to. Someone I consider a friend, honestly. I don't really know the guy, but I think I've talked to him once or twice, and back in the Stickam days, and I subscribe to his channel, and I enjoy his content. He does a lot of interesting stuff. Now, I know a lot of people that subscribe to me probably aren't going to be entirely interested in the kind of stuff that he does, but I still suggest checking him out, even though I very much disagree with him on this point. He recently brought back what he calls the HD reality check, which was a series, I guess, that's kind of a response to Zaran Isaac's whole HD rants series, right? Which he's kind of calling out Zaran Isaac in a way. There are a few moments in this video where he calls out Zaran Isaac and says, maybe this will be the impetus to get him to finally bring that back or something like that and answer some of the charges that he has brought up in this video. But the title of his video is Upscale DVD and Streaming is Good Enough. Get over it. I disagree for a variety of reasons. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't even have to say I disagree, but rather, the facts disagree, but whatever. In this video, Jay brings up some points about DVD and Blu-ray and how the DVD and the Blu-ray, I don't even think he brought up the Blu-ray market share that much, but how DVD has a bigger hold on the market right now, today, than Blu-ray does in a lot of cases. And so he's saying Blu-ray didn't necessarily win the format war, it didn't replace DVD. And on that point, I have to say, he's right. It really didn't replace DVD. A lot of us were thinking that it would replace DVD, and DVD would go the way of the dodo, but clearly that hasn't happened. I'm kind of glad that DVD hasn't died out yet. But on another level, there are certain things that haven't, there are movies that haven't even come to DVD, right? There are movies let's just pull this up here. Reckless here, that hasn't even come to DVD yet. They haven't put this on DVD anywhere. Nobody, not even a specialty little print-on-demand thing. No. This is not on DVD, and chances are it's not going to be put on DVD, and it's probably not going to be put on Blu-ray either, although I would love to see it. It's just not likely to happen. It's a fantastic movie, I might add. It's a really great movie. I watched it again recently after picking up the VHS here, and it's just a really good movie that essentially was just forgotten by time and by everybody. But, there are movies like that are, hidden gems that have not yet been put on DVD or Blu-ray. And quite frankly, if they were to put it on DVD and not Blu-ray, I'd probably buy that DVD. But chances are they're not going to do that. They're probably going to stick with Blu-ray because that's where everything is headed. That's why when you hear about new transfers that they're doing, I guess not everything is headed to Blu-ray. It's headed to 4K now. But when you hear about new transfers that they're doing, they're always high-res, high-definition transfers. They're not transfers done for DVD. And you can tell the difference between a transfer done for DVD and a transfer done for Blu-ray, because transfers done for DVD had a lot of compression and artifacting. They also had a lot of DNR, because the DNR would make it look smoother and then thus necessarily better in standard definition, right? So there was kind of a purpose to DNR back in the DVD days, but now that we have high definition, DNR actually, inhibits the image. It makes the image look a little bit worse. But to return to my point here, everything that you see now getting a new transfer is getting a high definition transfer. Whether that transfer is going straight to digital, which there are a lot of movies that are getting transfers and then put only on digital. I wouldn't say a lot, but I would say that some transfers are being done and then brought specifically to digital. But I don't think that there are a lot that are like that, because it's kind of one of those cases where you're leaving money on the table. If you do that, it's like you can make money if you put this transfer on a disc. Now, it's not going to be a whole lot of money, but it's going to be money that you could have made had you put it on the disc, you know? So we're not seeing a whole lot of transfers being done specifically for digital, but we are seeing transfers done for digital and Blu-ray and 4K. Specifically at this point, we're mostly seeing transfers done for 4K. In fact, we've been, for the past few years, seeing transfers in 4K, which is why we've seen a lot of Blu-rays advertising their 4K transfers. Even though Blu-ray cannot actually present a 4K image, you are getting the 4K transfer of the movie in 1080p. That's essentially what the Blu-ray with the 4K is. If you look at the 4K discs that are coming out now, those are actually 4K. Those actually give you the 4K image. So there you go. And that's awesome. And if you look at those, by the way, if you look at the 4K discs that are coming out now, what do they have on them? They in the set now. They have the 4K disc, the Blu-ray disc, and the digital copy. I'm like 90% certain that they do not have the DVD. They don't. No. 4K Ultra HD disc here of The Revenant that I'm looking at has 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and digital HD. There's no DVD on there. There's no DVD on the 4K set. They only have Blu-ray, all right? I think what that shows you is the reason that they actually add the previous generation of physical format with the new generation of physical format now, because it allows for a transition. It allows for people to transition. If you look at a 4K disc, like I put off getting The Martian until it was on 4K. I still haven't gotten it yet, but I put off getting The Martian until the 4K version came out, specifically because I knew, you know what, I can get the 4K copy of that, and I don't have a 4K player or a 4K TV. But when I do, then I'll have a 4K movie that I can watch on that player and on that TV. The 4K version of The Martian comes with the Blu-ray. So, even though I can't watch the 4K disc, I can still watch the Blu-ray that comes with it. So, that's very much what that is about. All right, it's about offering a transitional opportunity, an opportunity to say, hey, you can get this disc, you can get this 4K disc, and get the Blu-ray at the same time. That way you'll have the movie and you can watch it with your current technology, and then when you finally have enough money to be able to buy the new technology, you'll have the disc for the new technology already. And I just think that's awesome. I think that's the perfect way to do it. And that's exactly, by the way, what they're doing with Blu-ray, because they understand that there is a large part of the market that is still only has DVD players, and there's a large part of the physical market that only buys DVDs, that's only interested in DVDs. So they offer a transitional opportunity. So like, whereas the 4K has the 4K disc, the Blu-ray disc, and the digital copy, the Blu-ray has the Blu-ray disc, the DVD, and the digital copy. This is one of the older ones that has the disc-based digital copy, but yeah. Point being that that's how they're doing it, and that's why they're doing it that way. So that people who have a DVD player can start collecting Blu-ray now, have the Blu-ray disc, don't have to worry about getting the Blu-ray player or the high-definition TV if they don't have the money for that yet, and still get the DVD and a digital copy if they want that. They can watch the movie any way they want to, essentially, right? And 4K is cutting out DVD entirely, all right? 4K at this point is cutting out DVD entirely. Now, if DVD is such a hot seller and it's like the biggest thing on the market right now, and they're still trying to give that DVD audience what they want, then why wouldn't they throw the DVD copy in with the 4K disc and the Blu-ray disc? Why wouldn't they do that? It's extremely affordable for them to do that at this point. DVDs are extremely cheap to produce. I mean, if you look at the DVD copy of, say, here, we'll look at the one that he brought up, Star Wars The Force Awakens. If you look at the DVD copy in here, and you look at the quality of the disc and the quality of the artwork on the disc, it is clear as day, all right, that they spent about 5 cents on this fucking disc, all right? They popped it in there because it's a 5-cent disc, all right? Now, Blu-ray still costs quite a bit of money to produce, right? Which is probably one of the reasons why when you get the 4K movie that has the 4K disc and the Blu-ray disc, instead of being, $20, which is the price point of Star Wars The Force Awakens on Blu-ray right about now, they are $30, all right? So it's a little bit more expensive because those discs legitimately cost more money to produce right now because they are newer discs and they aren't available in abundance like DVDs are. So if a studio wants to put out a DVD, it's extremely affordable for them to do that, which is why you see things like Mill Creek doing a lot of things on DVD and then putting those DVDs out for cheap because they know that people will buy DVDs at a cheap price, number one. Number two, they also know that DVDs are extremely affordable to produce. That's why they do that. The assumption is, if you're going to be buying some kind of media like this, that you have something that you can use to actually watch that media, right? So I think, honestly, the cheapest price point for being able to take advantage of this media is, of course, the DVD, but they offer you 3 different opportunities here. And basically, this is their way of saying, hey, if you don't have this technology yet, then at least you probably have this technology and you can watch it with this technology. If you don't have this technology yet, well, now you can have this in your collection, this Blu-ray disc in your collection, for when you do get that technology in your possession. Jay brought up the point that DVDs are still being sold, and he's saying maybe the reason that DVDs are put into these Blu-ray cases, into these Blu-ray sets, is because DVD is still more popular than Blu-ray. And, well, I'm going to both refute and add validity to that point. And I know that sounds crazy and strange, but let me just come out and say, first and foremost, DVD is still more popular than Blu-ray. And Blu-ray, more than likely, will never be more popular than DVD. Well, at least not for quite a while, you know what I mean? But there's a reason that DVDs still sell better than Blu-ray, and they do. DVDs still sell better than Blu-ray. The most recent number I saw, I think it was a week or two ago that they gathered this information, was that about 66% of all sales of home media were on, disc-based home media were on DVD, and 33% were on Blu-ray. So the highest market share that Blu-ray had was a few years ago, I think, and it was about 40%, and it's dropped off a little bit since then, but it's kind of leveling out at around, it fluctuates between around 33% and 36% or so, so it's in that 35-ish range, typically 35% of the market share range. But the point I want to make here about those numbers, all right, is that DVD players and DVDs entered way more households in America in particular than Blu-ray did. Just a phenomenally larger amount of households. We're talking like a 90% or close to, I think it's close to 90% saturation point for DVDs, for DVD players. We're talking like 90% of the households that have TVs also have DVD players. And you can go to a Goodwill, by the way, and get a DVD player for about $5. So to say that it's cost prohibitive, you can't afford it, like you can get DVDs for $1 at the same, like you can get DVDs for 50 cents. I went to a Goodwill last week that had a DVD section, like a specific little DVD section for DVDs that were between 50 cents and $1. And then you go over to the back wall where they have their electronics, and they've got DVD players for $5. So you can walk out of there with a movie and a way to watch that movie for less than $6. So I mean, that is the opening price point, I think. That's the opening salvo for home media and collecting home media and watching movies on any kind of format. Because other than that, you've got Netflix, and in order to use Netflix, you need to have, well, you need to have the internet, you need to have a computer of some sort, or you need to have a Roku box of some sort. So Netflix, $10 a month, plus the Roku box is going to cost you like $30 for the lowest price model, plus internet. If you get the, for the, if you're talking about lowest price model, you're probably talking about you still have like an SD TV, right? You still have like maybe even a tube TV, right? So let's just say $10 plus the $30 plus for internet, you're paying like what, $20 a month? So two of those are monthly prices. One of them is just the $30 for the Roku, but then two of those are monthly prices that add up to about $30 a month. $30 a month, right? So you're paying $30 a month for that. Or you can get a DVD player for $5 and then a bunch of DVDs for it for $30 or so, which is the price point of the Roku itself. So, like if we're talking about what the best deal on the market is, it's DVD, right? So if you're poor and you can't really afford much, what are you going to go for? You're going to go for DVD, of course. And the thing is, they've taken that into account and made it a part of their transition to Blu-ray. So that once you can actually afford a Blu-ray player, you'll have the Blu-ray to go with it. But if you don't have that yet, here's the DVD. And you can watch the DVD. There you go. This, by the way, this movie cost me $6 on Blu-ray. So $6 and I got the Blu-ray and the DVD. And hey, if I'm looking to watch a movie like this and I don't have a lot of money to spend, $6, not that much to spend, right? It's not like a huge cost prohibitive thing, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that DVD absolutely is the best value on the market. And because they're the best value on the market, they still sell well. But that's not the only reason they sell well. The other reason they sell well is because there are so many DVD player owners, or so many people out there who own DVD players in the United States, and that market is almost completely saturated. So when you're talking about hundreds of millions of people who own something that can play this particular media, then of course you're going to see that technically those sell better than the Blu-rays do, right? But when you actually look at it, when you look at how many Blu-ray players have sold in the United States and the percentage of homes that own Blu-ray players, this is factoring in PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. It's factoring all that in, all right? When you factor all that in, even after you factor all of that in, roughly 40% of American households own a Blu-ray player. So when you factor that into the numbers of, well, DVD is selling this much better. It's selling 66% of the market, and Blu-ray only has 33% of the market share. Well, yeah, but DVD has been around for longer, has completely saturated the market. And so when you actually look at the numbers of sales for DVD only copies, they're actually really low in comparison to the actual saturation point in the market, right? They're really low in comparison to how much of the market has been saturated with that technology. So, yeah, you're going to sell 4 million copies of a DVD, maybe, right? Maybe let's just hypothetically say that you put out a movie on DVD and it sells 4 million copies in the first week. Holy crap, that's awesome, right? But that's 4 million copies. And we're talking about a platform that has potentially somewhere in the area of 150 to 200 million players out on the market. So there are between 150 and 200 million people in the United States that can play this content, right? And only 4 million of them bought this DVD. So that's the number that you need to keep in your head, all right? That's the number that you need to remember right there. That's what you need to factor in that you're not factoring in here. If only 4 million out of 150 plus million people are utilizing that technology, then it's a dying technology. It's a dying format, all right? It's not as popular as it once was. The only reason that it still outsells Blu-ray is because it saturated the market way more than Blu-ray did. And that's the thing. That's where I have to, tip my hat and be like, DVD saturated the market way better, way faster, and way more than Blu-ray ever did, and more than likely, way more than Blu-ray ever will. Although there's still a possibility that while people are waiting to get into the 4K thing, they're going to get into Blu-ray first because Blu-ray will be dropping in price, not only in the technology needed to play the content, but also in terms of how much it costs to get that content. So when you take a look at a combo pack like this, when you take a look at a combo pack that has the Blu-ray, the DVD, and the digital copy, and you say, well, the DVD is still in there, so clearly DVD is still more popular, and clearly DVD is still better than Blu-ray. I have to be like, what are you talking about? Like, yes, DVD has historically performed better than Blu-ray has, or more than likely ever will. That is a point that I am completely ready to concede. Like, absolutely. The saturation point for DVDs at this point is outrageous. It has completely saturated the market. 150 to 200 million people own a fucking DVD player in this country, and that is completely ridiculous. That's amazing, right? So of course, when there are so many people who own that technology, there are going to be a lot of people who purchase content for that technology because they own it, right? They have it. But Blu-ray never saturated the market as much as DVD did. And part of the reason for that, honestly, is the economy. Have you noticed, right? You noticed the poor economy over the past decade or so, right? The Great Recession, as they called it, and are still calling it. The economy hit that hard because before the economy dropped significantly, that's when DVDs were really gaining a foothold in the market. That's when tons of DVD players are being sold all over the world, all over the country for that matter, right? So when you look at when Blu-ray was starting to enter the market and really trying to make a push for that market, for the home video market, it's Blu-ray came out in 2006, right? It's been 10 years since Blu-ray came out. We're talking about this on the 10th anniversary of Blu-ray. So Blu-ray hits the market in around 2006, maybe a little bit earlier. I don't know the exact numbers, right? But that's when it really started to hit the market. And the time when it really started to make a push for the market was in the 2007-2008 area, right? What happened historically in that time period that might have had an effect on Blu-ray's ability to really capture the same amount of market as DVD captured? Can you tell me what happened? Maybe the Great Recession, maybe. Hmm. And the thing is, Jay experienced that himself firsthand. He experienced the effect of this crappy economy firsthand, and I have to say, like I really felt bad when that was happening to him. And honestly, like I feel like we've all had our own issues as a result of the crappy economy, right? So we've all been there in a sort of way, and it really sucks. And the only thing I would say to that is you felt the effects of the crappy economy yourself, so you know what was happening at that time, and you know that it was very difficult for most people to make a decision such as, well, I'm going to buy this Blu-ray instead of, well, I'm going to buy this loaf of bread. I mean, come on. When the decision is between something like that, and when you're hurting that much for money, of course you're not going to be buying Blu-rays or Blu-ray players. I mean, obviously, right? The Great Recession had a profound effect on the ability of Blu-ray to really capture the market and to perhaps even overtake the DVD market. It might never do that. It might actually end up doing that eventually if the economy takes a turn for the better and people are still kind of poor, but they can afford a little bit more, so they maybe can afford to buy the $5 and $10 Blu-rays and the $20 and $30 Blu-ray players that are being put on sale nowadays. I mean, uh, you can go to Goodwill and get a Blu-ray player for between 20 and 30 bucks. I saw a Blu-ray player at Goodwill the other week for $20. So don't tell me that you can't get a Blu-ray player for cheap. It's not the $5 DVD player, but it is a $20 Blu-ray player. So, I mean, you can enter into that market for a fairly decent price at this point. And that could mean good things for Blu-ray. That could mean that the market for Blu-ray is about to take off, just as the market for 4K is really, you know, starting to try and get a foothold, so to speak, right? And I think the studios know that there's potential for that, and that's why they put 4K discs with Blu-ray discs. They don't put 4K discs with DVD discs. Why would they do that? Anybody who has a 4K disc and is considering buying a 4K Blu-ray, more than likely has the newer technology and is interested in having 4K technology even if they don't have it already. So, of course, there are going to be people who want to see things in high definition, so of course they're going to want the Blu-ray, right? It's the smart thing to do, it's the wise thing to do, right? But to the point that DVD is good enough? No. No, 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 it really isn't. Jay said that he watched Star Wars The Force Awakens here. He watched this on the DVD and the Blu-ray, and he said that to his eyes, he couldn't really tell the difference. The Blu-ray looks fucking phenomenal, alright? And if you're gonna say, well, the DVD looks just as good, and you can't really afford to get a Blu-ray player or a high-definition TV, that yes, the DVD is going to be good enough for you right now, obviously. But if you have a high-definition TV and you have 20 bucks for a Blu-ray player, then why in the world would you watch the DVD or even buy the DVD over the Blu-ray when they're about the same price, sometimes even less? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Blu-rays are undeniably higher quality than DVD. The bit rates are higher, the quality is higher. It's 1080p versus 480p, all right? Just based on the facts, better quality, higher quality. To your eyes, it might not look a whole lot better, but even Jay himself said that the DVD did have a bit of fuzziness to it when upscaled. Like, yeah, that's gonna happen, all right? And not only that, but the bit rate is just not going to be as high, so those high octane quick motion events that happen in a movie like this, like in the fucking, Millennium Falcon scenes there with Rey and Finn, yeah, you're gonna notice a bit of blurring. You're gonna notice a bit of artifacting in there. That's probably where you're seeing that, by the way. So to say, oh, this meh, it's good enough, like, no, it really isn't. I can't fault you if you go to a fucking Goodwill, or you go to a pawn shop and they have a DVD there for $1, and the Blu-ray, if there is a Blu-ray available, costs like $10, and you say, fuck that, I'm gonna get this for $1. I can't fault you for that. I've done that myself. I saw the Lawnmower Man DVD at a pawn shop a few months ago, and I picked that up for $1 because I was like, I want to see this movie, and I don't know if there's a Blu-ray, but if there is a Blu-ray, I know it's not going to be $1. So, I think that's why a lot of people still go for the DVD, because it's still cheaper, and we're still in a kind of crappy economy. No matter how much people want to make it look like it's a great economy, it's still kind of a crappy economy. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go for the cheapest option if you can't afford the higher priced option, or if you're not aware whether or not something is available on the higher quality, in the higher quality version, So DVD still remains more popular than Blu-ray. DVD is still more popular in the market than Blu-ray, still has a higher market share, and more than likely will always have a higher market share, more than likely will always have a higher saturation point, that I might add. There's nothing that I can say that's going to refute that. That's absolute fact, right? But it's important to also understand the numbers behind that fact. It's important to understand that there are 150 plus million people in this country who own a DVD player, versus, God, how many own a Blu-ray player? Probably not even half that. So, like, I actually did the numbers for that on based on saturation point, how much of the people who have this particular device bought this movie on that device, right? I did the numbers on that, and guess what? They were actually fairly even. So, what you're talking about here is half of the, or not, the same amount of people who own a Blu-ray player bought the Blu-ray as the people who own DVD players bought the DVD. So we're not even talking about really much of a difference here. We're talking about the people who own DVD players buy the DVD, and the people who own Blu-ray players buy the Blu-ray. So let's say that like 5%, right? 5% of people who own a DVD player bought this particular DVD, right? And then 5% of the people who own a Blu-ray player bought that particular Blu-ray, right? So where's the difference when you really factor that in, when you really consider that? Where is the big difference in the market there? Well, the difference is this, all right? The DVD market, as I've said 1 billion times now, is way more saturated than the Blu-ray market, extremely saturated. So 5% of that market buying a DVD is of course going to result in higher numbers and higher sales numbers than Blu-ray sales, because Blu-ray players haven't saturated the market as much or as well as DVD players for a variety of reasons, some of which Jay himself goes into in other videos that he's done on this subject, such as the fact that Blu-ray never really caught on with computers as a computer drive, but DVDs, not only are they still like the chosen drive for if you need an optical media drive for your computer, but also they work in pretty much everything, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to have to buy a fucking piece of software that may or may not fucking work in order to fucking use the thing, right? And that's an area where I think undeniably Blu-ray has failed. Jay is absolutely correct about that. That's not to say that the technology of Blu-ray has failed. It's the software that people have to use in order to use Blu-ray on their computer, right? But when you look at the actual technology of Blu-ray itself, the actual Blu-ray disc, it's so much better than DVDs. DVDs, you give it one little scratch and it could ruin the whole damn thing. Blu-rays, you can gouge media out of the thing and it'll still fucking work for the most part. And when you get to that point where that media has been gouged out, it'll stop working. But every other area of that disc that has content on it, that has information, will remain intact. I know this because I've seen it myself. I've essentially tested it myself. So, yes, that is absolutely true. The anti-scratch coating on Blu-rays is actually way, way light years better than the DVD anti-scratch coating. So, I mean, Blu-ray in a lot of ways still is way better than DVD, but DVD still outsells Blu-ray because it has a higher market share. But when you factor in how many people are buying Blu-rays that have Blu-ray players, I mean, it's about the same for most things as the people who are buying DVDs and own DVD players, right? It's the same percentage, essentially. I think it's important to point out the price point of Blu-rays, and I think it's important to point out that, the market share doesn't tell you everything. There's a reason that they still sell Blu-rays, and there's a reason that they're continuing on to a new higher definition platform, 4K Ultra HD. All right? And the reason is that there are still people out there who buy these things, and they pay sometimes a pretty penny for them. So you look at something like this, right? Star Wars The Force Awakens, it's $20. You get the Blu-ray, the DVD, and the digital copy code, which is awesome. And the thing about this is that in the first week, the Blu-ray sold way better than the DVD. We're talking like 83% of the home video sales for this movie were this. They were the Blu-ray copy of the movie. All right? So if you want to talk about, Blu-ray's failing, Blu-ray doesn't sell anymore, DVD still outsells Blu-ray, well, not in every single case. And 83% of the copies of this movie that were sold on Blu-ray. And that is factoring in both DVD and digital HD, I might add. That means that DVD split time with the digital HD copies for the remaining 17% of sales that were made for Star Wars The Force Awakens. The wide majority of sales that were made of this movie last week were for the Blu-ray here. So to say that Blu-ray is failing, or that it has failed, or that it's not selling as well as DVD every single time out, that's not accurate, all right? And it doesn't actually look at the facts entirely. It doesn't really look at everything. It only looks at like certain numbers and says, well, in this number, DVDs are outselling Blu-rays. But when you actually factor everything in, I mean, there has to be a reason that they're still selling Blu-rays, that they're still making content specifically for Blu-rays, that they're still doing transfers in high definition in 4K now. There has to be a reason they're doing that, and the reason is that it still sells. The reason that they still do DVDs, it still sells. The reason they put DVDs in Blu-ray and digital copy combo packs, all of these things sell when combined. I have a friend who frequently splits the cost of Blu-rays with his parents because his parents want the digital HD copy and he wants the Blu-ray. So they frequently say, well, I'll pay half of this and you pay the other half. And they split the cost on it and save money that way. So, the market is kind of interesting right now because they literally have saturated the market with as many different possible opportunities to watch their content as possible. That they've done as much as they can to say, here, you can watch our content. Here's the Blu-ray, here's the DVD, here's the digital copy code. 3 different ways to watch the movie. You don't have to worry about whether or not you have the fucking means of watching it, because chances are, if you're buying this disc, you have some, or if you're buying this, Blu-ray, you have some means to watch it either digitally on DVD or Blu-ray. Like, that's why they do it. They're covering all their bases to improve sales across the board, which should tell you something. If they're not looking at which copy is, or which technology is selling better, if they're not looking at the numbers for Blu-ray and DVD and digital individually, what does that tell you? If they're not basing their decisions market-wise on what the best-selling product is, and thus selling more DVDs because they sell more than Blu-rays do, if they're not doing that, what does that tell you? It tells you that they're not interested in selling to one market. They're not interested in giving only one market the benefit of the doubt. They're interested in covering all of their bases and providing something for every consumer all at the same time. And that's perfectly fine by me. And I'm not going to say that that means that Blu-ray won, or that Blu-ray is still in it, or that, whatever. I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to say, though, is that Blu-ray is still a viable product, or else they would not be making it anymore. High definition is undeniably better than standard definition every time out. Not only in the area of, there being more pixels on the screen, but also in the area of the bit rate. And the bit rate does play a fairly heavy factor, because once you get into heavy action scenes in movies, if it doesn't have a high bit rate, then it can't catch up to all the action that it's seeing on screen, and thus everything gets blurry or artifacted and whatnot, and it just doesn't look as good. You see the same thing, by the way, with streaming stuff and digital copies. Typically, digital copies do not have a high bit rate, and because they don't have a high bit rate, anytime anything action-oriented happens, gets all blurry and artifacted. Same thing as with DVDs, except now they're technically in high definition. So technically, digital is better than DVD if you want a better quality, version. But it still has the same artifacting problem. So what it boils down to is this. You don't have to like Blu-ray. You don't have to think that Blu-ray is the bee's knees. You don't have to buy Blu-ray if you don't want to. You can keep buying DVDs all you want to. You can keep thinking that DVDs are just as good, or DVD copy looks just as good as Blu-ray, even though it's factually false to make that statement. You can keep making these statements all you want, but what's really going on here is, I think that the movie studios are starting to understand, not only the movie studios, but also, the companies who make this technology, are starting to understand that people who watch movies and people who buy this media don't really care too much about what platform it's on. They just want to have access to it. And not everybody has a Blu-ray player. Not everybody has a VHS player anymore. Not everybody has the means to watch a digital copy. So, of course, they always are still, or not always maybe, but they are still going to offer the DVD option in addition to all those other options, especially because DVDs are extremely affordable. It is extremely cheap for them to plop a DVD disc into a Blu-ray combo pack. It is extremely affordable for them to do that. It costs them pennies to do that. So if adding a few pennies to the cost of their production of this, this media is going to be what it takes in order to sell like a few million extra copies of the damn thing, then of course they're gonna do that. Of course they're gonna do that. Come on, let's be real here. That's what's going on. I still see people in Goodwill, by the way, going for things like this. I still see them looking for VHS. You might think VHS is dead, but it's actually kind of making somewhat of a resurgence. And there are people who are looking for these things in secondhand stores now, even, because they're between like 25 cents and a buck. They're extremely affordable. All you have to do is get a VCR, and then like you can get a VCR at these secondhand stores for like $5. So it's even more affordable in some cases than DVD. So of course people who can't afford very much are going to these stores, and of course they're still buying the outdated technology, the used copies of this and whatnot. And of course then therefore it's still like a very popular technology. It's still popular because it's affordable. It's more affordable than any of the newer technology out there. But we're getting to the point where that's not necessarily the case anymore. All right? We're getting to the point where Blu-ray is starting to look really good to people who don't have a lot of money, right? Because I'll give you a for instance, the TV that I'm staring at right now, it cost me $299. It is a 39-inch 1080p TCL TV. As I mentioned when I picked it up, the screen is apparently, from what I understand, a Samsung screen, but everything else is TCL. And TCL has proven to be an excellent brand because I have had no problems with this TV since getting it. I absolutely love this thing. It's still working perfectly fine, absolutely great. In fact, it outlived a monitor that I bought a few months before, and I'm using it as a monitor. I'm using my TV as a monitor, and it outlived the actual monitor that I bought for my computer a few months before I bought this TV. So we're talking about a TV here that cost under $300, is essentially a 40-inch high-definition 1080p TV. And it's still running strong. It's still great. And, I mean, we've gotten to the point where they have, I think, 32 to 40-inch HD TVs on sale during Black Friday for under $100. So if you're going to say that, oh, it's too much, it's too expensive, they can't afford it, like the people who can't afford very much can't afford this, they can't get into the market, like, actually they can at this point. At this point, high definition technology is cheap enough that the people who previously could only afford DVD can now think about getting into Blu-ray. And I guarantee you a lot of these people have already picked up a lot of these fucking combo packs, so they already have a certain amount of Blu-rays in their collection as a result of that. And that was the idea behind doing these combo packs, is to make it a transitionary thing. So now you have it. Now you have the Blu-ray collection, which gives them the impetus then. It gives them the incentive to, when they see that $100 HD TV, say, you know what? I'm going to finally get me an HD TV. Because I have the technology in the Blu-ray right here to be able to take advantage of the HD technology. And then they go to the fucking Goodwill and see a $20 Blu-ray player. You know what? I'm going to get this Blu-ray player here so I can watch that Blu-ray that I already have because I got it for the DVD. That is why they're doing it. They're putting DVDs in Blu-rays so that they can sell the Blu-rays to people who don't have Blu-ray players yet, or don't have the means to watch Blu-rays in high definition yet. They're accounting for every aspect of the market. And we've gotten to the point, like I've been saying here, we've gotten to the point where we're talking about a platform where you can get a $100 HD TV, 1080p, and you can get a $20 Blu-ray player. It'll work perfectly fine. And you can get extremely affordable Blu-rays as well. You know, we talk about the dollar price point for DVDs, for secondhand DVDs in a secondhand store, or even DVDs at like a dollar store in general, you know. yeah, DVDs are fairly cheap right now. But guess what else you can get for cheap? Well, I got this at the dollar store a few years ago. Scenes from a Mall. It's a Woody Allen flick starring Woody Allen and Bette Midler. I just recently watched it for the first time and actually liked it quite a bit. It's apparently a take on it's apparently like a weird kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of reference to a television series called Scenes from a Marriage. And that was like a really deep and dark and depressing kind of a television series that was, I think, Swedish or something like that. But Woody Allen got together with the filmmaker here, and this is the same guy who did Down and Out in Beverly Hills, by the way. So you can kind of see where this is going, maybe. And he got together here and he did this little movie that kind of tongue in cheek kind of makes, I wouldn't say makes fun of it, but it's kind of almost a parody of that. And instead of being a scenes from a marriage, it's very much the same concept, except for they're going through all of the emotions while in a fucking mall in the 80s or early 90s, rather. So it's kind of funny, right? That cost me $1. You know what else cost me $1? And I actually got this on Amazon. Never Ending Story. Never Ending Story here cost me $1. And but you're gonna say, oh, but these two, who's heard of this movie? Who's gonna want to watch this movie? And oh, Never Ending Story, didn't that have a shitty transfer on Blu-ray? Blah, blah, blah. Like that, of course, that's on only $1. It's Never Ending Story. Nobody wants that anymore. Well, okay. What about like a more high quality movie? What about a movie that people maybe would want to have on Blu-ray, right? Well, how about Braveheart, the Sapphire series from Paramount? Very fantastic transfer here. $5. I got this for $5. So how's that for being too expensive? And then you say, but what about the families? People buy DVDs because families still want that low price point for things for their kids, right? Well, how about this, all right? Got this just last year, just this last winter, like during Black Friday, for $5. Despicable Me too. And then I got this same time for $4. The Croods. So two fairly recent, fairly well-rated, CGI animated family films. Both of them for under $10, $9 in fact. And then you say, yeah, but what about the special edition Blu-rays that they put out? What about the steel books and stuff? Well, yeah, how about this for $5? I got this Dark Knight steelbook here for $5 a few years ago. And then I also at the same time picked up Batman Begins steelbook for $5. And then you say, okay, yeah, well, whatever, yeah, $5 for the whatever, but that's just Batman Begins, and those they put so many of those out that of course that's only $5, whatever. But what about Disney movies? Those are always expensive on Blu-ray. I will give you that Disney movies are always a little bit more expensive on Blu-ray, but $10, not brand new, but it's, fairly recent movie here. $10. You want to talk about even more recent? Aladdin. $10. I got this for $10 during Black Friday. $10 fucking dollar price point for a movie that just fucking came out on Blu-ray. So, yeah, there's a $10 Disney Blu-ray, and then I got this one used for about $8-9, something like that. It was under $10 though. You know what else I got for under $10 a Disney movie? Mars Needs Moms. It wasn't a very popular movie, mind you, but I got it for like $5. So, yeah. I didn't bring that one up because I figured somebody would say, oh, that's Mars Needs Moms. Nobody likes that movie. I think a lot of people like Wall-E, and that one was under $10. I think a lot of people love Aladdin, that was $10. And some people liked Brave. I liked Brave, and that was $10. So if you're going to say, oh, but it's cost prohibitive, nobody can afford this stuff, you know what? This stack disagrees with you, all right? If somebody can get a stack of movies like this for about the same price, if not better than fucking DVD, on Blu-ray, and most of these come, by the way, with like the DVD. Yep, even that one came with the DVD, and that's an older copy of Wall-E. This one comes with the DVD. This one comes with the DVD. 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 I mean, most of those come with DVDs, right? Or at least half of them came with DVDs, right? So, talking about a format that cheap and that affordable, and most of the ones that cost $5 or more. In fact, one of the ones that was $4 came with the DVD. I mean, come on. Come on. Let's just be honest here, alright? There's a reason why they're putting DVD in the Blu-rays, and that's because it helps it sell to people who don't necessarily have the means to watch Blu-ray players yet, or to watch Blu-rays yet. And they're also to a price point now where people can buy the Blu-ray and buy the Blu-ray player and buy the TV for it, and it's pretty affordable at this point. So these arguments of being cost prohibitive and DVD is clearly still more popular than Blu-ray, and DVD is always going to be more popular than Blu-ray, and yada 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 yada. I'm so tired of them. It's so stupid. You know what? If you want your DVD, you can get your fucking DVD, alright? You can get your DVD while you're getting your Blu-ray. Or you can just go get the DVD and just vehemently adhere to your anti-Blu-ray ways. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Because, quite frankly, if they lose your dollar, they're not going to cry. In fact, they're not going to cry because they're not going to lose your dollar, because you're going to buy their movies one way or another if you want to watch them. So, if you want to watch them and you go for the DVD, then fine. Whatever. They still got your money. In fact, they got more of your money because they're still charging you typically quite a bit of money for those. Especially with the new releases, they're still charging you about as much for the Blu-ray as they do for the DVD. I mean, I'm looking at the Revenant here. The DVD is $19.99. The Blu-ray is $19.99. They're both $20. Do you know how much the Blu-ray cost them to make versus how much the DVD cost them to make? They're making more money when you buy their DVD. So do you think they're really going to be unhappy if you don't buy their fucking Blu-ray? People are still going to buy the Blu-ray, but if they decide to go with the DVD instead and just get the DVD, then they stand to make more money off of that, off of stupidity. Like, fine, get the worst deal. I mean, it really is a worse deal too, because the DVD comes with the DVD and the digital copy, right? The Blu-ray comes with the Blu-ray, the DVD, and the digital copy. You're getting more. What kind of person who is poor and can't afford very much and has to be frugal wouldn't go for the opportunity to get more for less, or more even for the same price? Come on. What are we talking about here? Why is this even a thing anymore? Why do people still adhere to this fucking DVD's better than Blu-ray bull crap? Who fucking cares? Like, okay, DVD still has a higher market share than Blu-ray. Whoop-de-friggin' do. It also has a higher saturation point than Blu-ray, so of course it's going to have a higher market share. And we've talked about the reasons why it has a higher saturation point. Maybe that wouldn't have been the case if we hadn't gotten into a really crappy economic time. Like, I'm not necessarily trying to make excuses here. I'm just pointing out the facts about what happened at that time, and maybe one of the reasons why this maybe happened the way it did, you know? We might be singing an entirely different tune at this point if the economy hadn't taken such a huge downturn. I don't know. That being said, I'm done with this topic of conversation, at least for the moment being. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and do be sure to check out Jay's videos and, give him a shout out, whatever. He does do a lot of great content. Just because he thinks DVDs look just as good as Blu-ray doesn't necessarily mean, in my eyes, that he is stupid or that he doesn't know what he's talking about or anything like that. I mean, he is very intelligent about a variety of different things related to the tech world, which is why his name here on YouTube is Multimedia J. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out his content just because he's a fun guy to listen to. He has interesting opinions on things. And yeah, don't always agree with him, but that's why I do these videos, right? He called out Zarin Isaac. I figured Zarin Isaac probably isn't going to respond to this immediately, but I kind of feel like doing that, so I'm going to. Anyway, that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.